This video is brought to you by NetSuite by Oracle. If you're a CEO who's tired of QuickBooks or tired of the nonsense of running multiple programs, then upgrade to NetSuite to more effectively run your company. I just put out my predictions versus reality for the Washington football team's 2020 season. One of the bright spots of the year for Washington was their quarterback, Alex Smith. He won the Comeback Player of the Year. He was battling back from that horrific leg injury. Feel-good story there, like, Alex Smith. Pretty cool. Like, Chase Young was a feel-good story. Taylor Heinicke was a feel-good story. So was Alex Smith. Well, Alex Smith just did a interview with GQ, and he gave a lot of really, really interesting quotes. Now, first of all, before we get to the controversial stuff, I want to say this is my favorite quote of the story, actually. He said, basically, Alex Smith said that he felt like he had to try to make a comeback. He said that he'd be better for it if he tried, if he made the push. He said, otherwise, if I didn't try to come back, I'd regret it because I got the whole rest of my life to hang out with my kids and play golf. I'm only going to get this opportunity to play in the NFL and come back one time. And so he made a comeback. He said, I didn't want to regret it. That's how you live your life. I love that. Do not live your life in a way where you will regret things. I think it's amazing. It's a good lesson you can learn from Alex Smith. My favorite quote of the entire story that I read. Now, here's a quote about Washington Alex Smith gave. He said, they never thought it was coming back. Said some people had patronized him. Now, he wasn't specific whether that was in the organization or just people in the media and all over the world. But the reality is, Alex Smith said, I had an uphill battle, not just from my leg, but from people that didn't believe in me. And here's a direct quote from Alex Smith about the Washington football team. He said, when I decided to come back, I definitely threw a wrench in the team's plan. They didn't see it, didn't want me there, didn't want me on the team or on the roster, didn't want to give me a chance. It was a whole new regime. They came in and acted like I'm the leftovers and I'm hurt and I'm a liability. It's really, really sad. It's tragic. Alex Smith, my favorite story from the 2020 NFL season, maybe other than I liked Tom Brady was fun. I really enjoyed that, right? Alex Smith was amazing. It was so cool to see a guy we thought would never play football again come back and do fairly well, like decent. But it also, this story makes Alex Smith's journey more impressive. He not only was battling against his leg, trying to heal his leg and get back, he was also battling against his own team that didn't want him and didn't believe in him. And that's so sad because it darkened really the best feel-good story for Washington all year. It's like, oh, man, I loved that, and it took the charm away from it. I'm like, God dang it, man. Really, really sad. Now, I understand Washington not believing in him. I get it. Now, what I don't understand is why Washington would not want him around. Alex Smith being there is only a positive thing. I don't know how you lose by having Alex Smith on your football team. Best case scenario, he can play. You're like, awesome. We got a guy who can play well and do good stuff. Worst case scenario, he's helpful. He's good in the locker room. He's good in the quarterback room. He's a valuable veteran leader. He may never play, but worst case scenario, Alex Smith is still positive to have around. It just feels oddly short-sighted by Washington. Like, why would they have any kind of pushback against Alex Smith coming back? I don't get it. It's like, no matter what, it's good for you. And maybe they're trying to save money. Cheap a-holes, I don't get that. But what I do understand is that if Alex Smith had played last year and gotten more injured, it would have made them look bad. Like Washington would have been like, why could you allow him to play? How could this have happened? How could you let Alex Smith onto the field? He'd already gotten hurt. What's going on? But I would argue, the doctors did clear him. So I don't know how you hold Washington accountable for a guy getting cleared by doctors, then getting hurt again. It's just unfortunate. But it wouldn't be, I think Washington would be penalized forever for that. It doesn't make sense to me. Now, moving forward, I would imagine that Alex Smith is not going to go back to Washington based on what he said. Sounded bitter, sounded like there was some, and we didn't hear the tone. I read the quotes, I didn't hear them. But I would imagine that Washington hears that and goes, I don't like that, man. You had to say that? And they're like, you're not coming back here. You're right, we don't want you. Bye. And I'm not sure that anybody wants Alex Smith. Not to be their starting quarterback. I'm sure that some teams would love to have Alex Smith as their backup. In fact, Urban Meyer coached Alex Smith at Utah. So Maybe Urban Meyer says, hey, come to the Jaguars, be our backup quarterback behind Trevor Lawrence. Help Trevor Lawrence, mentor him. I'd love that. That makes sense to me. But unless he wants to be a helpful backup, it's very possible that the career of Alex Smith is now over. But I will say, if his career is in fact over, at least Alex Smith got the last word.